This was another one of those walk-off field goal games for the Cardinals. They moved to 2-8. Falcons fall to 4-6. Kyler Murray made his return for the Arizona Cardinals, and it was his scamper. I think when he runs, it's a scamper. Right? The scamper.
Yeah, immediately scampering as well.
He does look like the toddler stealing the cell phone that the scout descriptions had a few years ago.
Did you see they had a revised picture without a wildly disproportionate football in it?
Oh, did they? They're like, let's tilt the angle up a little bit.
They found a different angle for him to hold the ball so that it didn't look so ridiculous. Like we were wondering heading into the game, right? What version of Kyler Murray is this going to be? Are they going to lean into part of what makes him a potentially special quarterback? Like immediately he was scampering. And the end of this game, like that looked like some vintage Oklahoma Kyler Murray, where he was like running around making wild things happen back there.
Yeah.
There were a couple of those plays, like right at the death, he had a play that looked right out of that Oklahoma offense where you're like, how is he even doing this?
3rd and 10, and he finds a way to move the chains.
Yeah.
And then they get further into field goal range with maybe one of his worst throws. He gets underthrow down the field where Trey McBride kind of bails him out.
He just went full nuke. Like, I'm going to toss the defender out of my way to grab this.
Yeah, I went through all Murray's, biggest throws or whatever during the game, and there was some weird misses. There were some nice ones, a couple big-time throws in there. Some weird misses, and I don't know if it was a timing. Like, he underthrew several passes down the field, and I don't know if that was just a timing vision. Like, usually when people underthrow things, you blame arm strength, but like when you throw the ball 25 yards instead of 30, that's not an arm strength thing. That's inaccuracy.
It's also rarely an arm strength thing. It's
very rarely an arm strength thing, right? Unless you're trying to throw the ball 60 and you only get it 45. He was just off throwing the ball down the field, and then very good on some of the intermediate throws. So I think you saw some rust maybe from Kyler Murray, but athletically, you saw him scampering and making plays. Also, keeper for a touchdown, the scramble to put them into field goal range. Pretty promising, I think, for Kyler's return.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he looks athletically all the way back immediately and is the most important thing. And I think even with this version where it did look a bit rusty, it's still an upgrade over anything they've had this season. Even with Josh Dobbs playing pretty well, I think Kyler Murray at this level is immediately better than that. And, I mean, from his perspective, like this was a good return, and it bodes well for what he can show them for the second half of the season in terms of staying there going forward, which is the big thing. Like, it's not like he needs to win the job, but like he has the chance to win that job in two different ways. So number one, prove that he's the guy, and number two, win enough games that they don't have a shot at Caleb Williams anyway. Like he can do both parts of that, like attack this thing from two different directions. And from their perspective, like if Kyler Murray wins enough games that they don't have a shot at Drake May and Caleb Williams, then that probably answers the question from them anyway. Like, hey, he is the guy, and by the way, we no longer have a choice in the matter.
I always come back to I'll have so much time this offseason to talk about it, but really quickly, when you put in that balance sheet together, you have Kyler Murray on one side, plus if you have the second, third, fourth pick, everything you might be able to get from a trade, right? Or a Marvin Harrison Jr., whatever, right? Those are the potential things versus what you get for Kyler Murray in a trade plus, say, the new quarterback, a Drake May or whatever it might be. I mean, those are intriguing possibilities on either side, I think, for Arizona. But a serious one is keeping Kyler Murray and getting an elite player at the top of the draft.
But I think it's interesting that it's kind of going to take care of itself. Like, you almost don't need to evaluate Kyler Murray. You could kind of judge it by wins and losses and just say, look, if they win enough games that they don't have a shot at that quarterback anyway, he's the guy. If they don't, then maybe he isn't.
Even if he's good, though, there's enough inconsistency in his career that, I don't know, it could be challenging to make that decision. Other side, Falcons, Bijan Robinson found the end zone, which was nice.
Well, Bijan finally got the kind of workload people were demanding. And unfortunately, Atlanta lost the game. So Arthur Smith is the real winner here.
Atlanta is now 0-2 in games in which Bijan Robinson has a rushing touchdown. I'm just pointing out some facts here.
Yeah.
For the fantasy folks. Sorry. Bijan goes 22 carries for 95 yards and a score. Fantasy people are weird. You guys, just because the first touchdown went to Scotty Miller, like it's just a mesh play.
Yeah, you
he's
say
running.
that.
It's like, they're feeding Scotty Miller. He's earning all the red zone targets. It's like he just was the receiver running a route who came open on the play. Fantasy people are mad when touchdowns go to the wrong people. Taylor Heineke gets hurt. Desmond Ridder has to come in. Ridder ends up with a touchdown on a keeper as well. That bet's still alive, right? We have somebody waiting for 10 touchdowns for Ridder, one of the bettors.
10 was 10 rushing touchdowns.
Rushing touchdowns. Yeah. Isn't he like 4 or 5 right now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So that bet's still alive with the Heineke injury. We'll see what happens coming out of there. But yeah, Atlanta, I think kind of a disappointing game for their defense these last couple weeks. I've been talking up their defense, and they're not making the key stops late in the game these last few weeks.
No. I was just looking at that touchdown. I was curious because you made this point yesterday that, hey, he's the last read in mesh. It's not like the play was dialed up for Scotty Miller.
Yeah, tell me about it.
This may be true. Having said that, I don't know who was on the field at the time, but the only other receiver I noticed on the field was Van Jefferson. I went to look at it just on the off chance that his personnel grouping was like Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, Jonnu Smith, Tyler Out, like all of the players that shouldn't be on the field. It wasn't. It was Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, and then 3 actual players that everybody wants the football: Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. So like the fantasy analysis, they're like, oh, why is Scotty Miller getting the red zone touches? It's like, that was the play.
Yeah.
That was the play. They didn't go in saying we're going to get Scotty on this one.
So
they caught it.
Heineke goes out. Ridder comes in, gets his rushing touchdown. There's basically no difference whether they're playing Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder. It's the same guy, and it's not good enough. But that, I don't think that made a particularly big difference to the outcome. It's just what ended up happening.
Back to Arizona really quick. Greg Dortch with a huge punt return to set up what should have been a Michael Wilson touchdown.
How did that?
Go ahead.
I didn't even. So it was
State
a great play by Michael Wilson, right? Catches it, breaks 2 tackles, drags a third guy over the line, and apparently it was down inside the 1. Now, I want to preface this by saying I didn't actually see the replay, but from the live view, I don't see how he could have been down inside the 1. And even if he was, I don't care. I have decided that if I come to power, right, and I will do Rodgers' job for a fraction of the money he's bringing in. What's the man on, like $70 million a year now? I'll do it for 2, right? $2 million a year. I'll be head commissioner of the NFL. I'll take all the crap from the owners. I'm happy with that. $2 million. You save a fortune. One of the first things I would implement is if it's a touchdown, you're no longer allowed to call it downside the 1. If you called it live on the field and you said touchdown, don't show me a replay that says he was down at the 6-inch line. I don't care. I don't want it to happen anymore. The number of plays yesterday, they were like, but there's a flag on the play. Or, wait, they're talking about this one. No, stop it. That was a great play by Michael Wilson. He broke 3 tackles, or 2.5. It was like a simple out route, and he then dragged the guy into the end zone. It's a touchdown. Stop it. Don't take it away from him. The end.
Then Clayton Tune came in and stole the touchdown.
Yeah. Vote for Sam for commissioner.
I'm with you, man. So no more
Palazzolo for GM. I can get Commissioner Sam.
You're just trying to one up me, huh?
Well, I mean, look, I'll find a role for you in the administration.
You
could be the guy. What's his name? Brian Murphy, the guy that has to feed all of my idiot policies to the people. Like you're the PR guy, right?
No.
The spokesman. That's it. The official NFL spokesman can be Steve Palazzolo.
No thanks.
I'll come up with this idiot scheme, right? Replay is now illegal for touchdowns, and you have to go out there and explain it to everybody.
I just want my 4-year GM contract where I get canned after a year and a half and collect money for the next 2.5, and that's the goal.
The A&M guy was Jimbo Fisher. Is that his name?
Yeah, that's the dream.
$70 million to not coach the team.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's what you want.
Yeah, but your ego, man, your reputation.
$70 million, I wouldn't give a rat's ass about my reputation.
Yeah, so it's another reason why passing touchdowns are a quirky stat, not the only thing to look at. Kyler loses a passing touchdown.
Well, not
that he earned it the first, but I'm just saying the touchdowns in general are just
Michael
finicky.
Wilson is the guy that got hosed.
Wilson did a really nice job there. Trey McBride playing really well at tight end for Arizona these last few weeks. Had an awesome game again, 8 catches for 131 he has become a weapon. He was probably the top tight end in last year's draft class, but a consensus top tight end, goes in the second round and has been a huge piece of Arizona's offense the last few weeks.
And had been like curiously not a factor up until he became like a dominant force in the offense. It was slightly strange. I was like, if he hasn't done anything up until now, like maybe he wasn't the guy. And then all of a sudden he explodes and it's like, yeah, you see? Like, this is a dude that was his offense in college and then was just doing nothing in the NFL, and suddenly it's exploded as being one of the most impactful tight ends in the league.
Ends up being a huge loss, obviously, for the Falcons. They haven't had their bye yet, so they're 4-6. But the difference between 4-6 and 5-5, I mean, that's first place in the NFC South. Arizona moves to 2-8 and creeping up in the draft, or down in the draft. Unfortunately, away from that number one overall pick.
More smart game management stuff though at the end of the game for them. Like they finally get the plays. They have the ball. They're trying to eat it out. They're going to score, and James Conner in particular, like, deliberately did not score multiple times. Like they specifically, rather than take a touchdown and give Atlanta the chance of having the ball back and being able to answer, they just kept basically hitting the ground, like diving, and then like late of the walk-off field goal, as you say. So they had a chance to score a touchdown, go up even more, but give the ball back to the opposition, and were smart enough to not take it.
And you're not excited by walk-off field goals?
Not even slightly, no.
No. Because most of the time it's like, we already knew this was going to happen.
I mean, it's a field goal, so who cares?
Yeah, nobody's
like,
watching
it's the win. That's
just
the
let me know
part.
after if they hit it.
Yeah.
I'll know the result.
Like a walk-off touchdown is exciting. A walk-off field goal is just the way the game ended.